Alright, it's probably, I guess you could call it day 2 working on this Coronet. Got the motor out, we're waiting on some parts on that, and we are currently in the middle of a rear disc brake conversion. Inline tube kit, list the part number below. Got one side done, all cleaned up, brand new Moser axles, so a little bit of pain in the ass to get this all to work, but it ain't too bad. We're not running an e-brake, so that's easy. We'll remove that later. So I'll run through it real quick and give you the rundown. Already torn the first step. You obviously you want to get your old drum assemblies off. That is faux show. I wrapped this up because I torn them down and realized that the axles need cut, the rotors don't fit on, so I had to trim them down a bit. The kit is going to come with 4 longer bolts. There's going to be a backing plate you pull off and all this shit. So I'm gonna punch these all out and clean this up. Save one, because that'll be for the bottom. You'll see why. Save a good one. Set that off to the side, clean that up. There's still a bit of gasket on there. So you get that. Get 8 bolts. Look like the heads are cut off, and that's just exactly what we just took out. Slide right in. Odd. Other side slid right in. Yeah. might have to clean the junk off the end of the axle housing. And then, like I said, the one that you knocked out, just put it back in. Quick, pull it in. There we go. All right. Pull this out. Clean up my mess. Alright, first thing that goes on, you got a spacer. Basically, the instructions say that this takes up the backing plate. And it's really only one way that goes on. Can't mess that up. Second thing to go in is the axle. I have new ones, and I'm going to have to cut them. So I will show you guys that now. We got to cut them to length, and then the new rotors that came with this kit are a few thou smaller than the flange of the axle, so I gotta shave the axle a little bit. So I'm gonna take that over to the truck bench and dab that with silicone and show you guys that now. Garage is destroyed, so we are working on the truck bench. Now, when you're cutting these, measure from the flange. Oh, that might, no. It might go in there. Yeah, I need to trim about a 1/4 inch. But when you're measuring, measure from your flange to the end of the axle, and I got about a 1/4 inch too much. I'm going to use some electrical tape, make a mark. Trimming about 1/4 inch, and these will be perfect. So let me go get my cutter. fresh blade. Now, in a perfect world, if you got a lathe, you got something that cuts angle iron to cut these, we ain't doing that. Now, that's not bad for, you know, was wheel or a cutoff wheel, but just like a stock axle. That one's got a good bevel on it. That one's got a bevel on it too, so we're gonna smooth out the end, bevel it, and then just make sure there's no burrs in these splines, because you will not get an axle in if you got burrs. So that's next. Yep, and you just want to go around and just make sure there's no, just these will clean out the splines, so I'm not worried about it, but just make sure there's no giant burrs in there. And like I said, the flange has to be flap disc down a little bit, and so I get the rotor on, but it looks good to me. We ordered these Moser axles for drum. And then I believe it was last minute we decided to do a disc conversion. So over 20,000, so I'm not really gonna return parts and lose 2 weeks, you know, of time. So we're just gonna make these work. So we got the axle cut to length, got everything deburred. I'm gonna clean it up real quick, slide it into the housing, and then everything else is should bolt right up. So here we go. Clean your splines. You got your little gasket going on here, a little torn a little bit, but I think she'll be alright. Run that shit. Slide your axle in, and there's a little collar on the back here. I don't know if you guys can see that. That basically mates up with the flange and the gasket here. So if it doesn't reach, if you have a gap between that flange and this piece right here, if you have a gap, it probably means your axle's too long. So when I cut this down, so the second thing, well, I guess would be the third thing. You got your flange spacer, you got your axle. So you're going to get caliper mount, and then the mount for the caliper mount. And it basically just bolts up like that. I'm going to leave this one loose. I will explain that later. But basically, you have two sets of holes. If you mount it like that, the first way, your caliper bolt's going to hit your leaf spring. So on the other side, we mounted it like that, and everything was easy to get to. And then the bolts that you swapped out earlier, actually studs, is what's going to hold all this stuff together. Make sure this put that in there. First way, and then the second way, there it goes, and then on those nylon lock washers. Forgot to do the bottom one. Yeah, so there's this bracket, like you see, and it doesn't go all the way around. So that bottom stud, you can just, we're using one of the existing mounts, one of the existing studs. Plenty of thread for that spacer, and then, like I said, you gotta knock out the old studs for longer ones. This whole setup's too thick for these other ones. All right. Now, like I said, I basically had to flap wheel around here so I can get this bad boy on here. That goes on nice and easy. I gotta get the caliper. And if you've never done a caliper job before, you're going to get copper crush gaskets. You're gonna get two of them. One goes on the head, and the banjo bolt goes through the hose, and the other one goes on the other side, and that's how it bolts to the caliper. And then I think that was a 10. I got that pretty tight. I'll get this thing fully installed there. I'll give it another torque down on it a little bit more. Now it's time to install it. Get this junk out of the way because we don't need it no more. Pro tip: leader goes up on whatever side you're working on. Now, luckily, it's marked left and right. very generous because I've seen them where they're not. And then the hose is going to go under the axle, and then slide that in there just like a regular. Take a minute to get this stuff to kind of line up. Now, your slide pins, I'm going to anodize these a little bit with some threads because I'm probably going to be the guy working on this next. Just a little bit gets you a long way. And then it doesn't appear that the pads ride on the pins, but I do know to get that in to this, just lube that up a little bit, and maybe a little bit around the collar. That should be enough. A little bit on the end, and just a little bit on the collar where if there's a bushing on the caliper. Get that to slide nice and easy. And slide it on in. Yep, let's slide right in there. So most of the job is done. Now the kit is going to come with this little tab thing, which fits perfectly on there, and the little curve in that makes me think that you're supposed to tack that in there. Two things: I don't have a welder, and I don't know how to weld. So what I'm going to use, I'm going to have to modify this a little bit. This is a hose bracket off of my car, my Chevelle, off of another inline tube kit. And I just got to drill this hole bigger, and then that bolt that we left loose, we'll mount it there, kind of tilt it back, and then brake line will bolt right up to it. So I'm going to modify this, make this hole a little bit bigger, make that hole a little bit bigger, and we will be in good shape. Alright, got that drilled out a little bit bigger. Basically you just want to be able to fit that hex, which I think was 5/8, into here. You put your clip in, And then as long as 2 sides lock in, you really ain't got to move it. And then I just step drilled that out to fit on a 3/8 bolt on this little mountain bolt back here. Put you guys back here and see if we can see something. Oh shit. Damn it. Oh, that'll work. Alright, that'll work. Get that finger tight. You're gonna have to see about that. I don't know. We should be able to make that work. Alright, I need a socket. I'm going to go off it. There we go. It ain't going nowhere. And when I removed the drums, I let these, I took them off and reconnected them so I didn't have brake fluid run all over my driveway, and that way the line didn't run dry. But little trick I learned, get you a big get a big wrench, use the box end, and fucking try and bend it where you want it. They're steel, so they should bend pretty easy. And it's tight, but I got plenty of room to get us pretty much anything I need to do in here. I got plenty of room. And I got stubbies. These stubbies come in handy. Get them snug, and then this one's to turn, so I'll put them, oh, that was 5/8. Get my line wrench and 5/8. Oh, that's not gonna work. Shit. 3/8 is a little bit better. Perfect. Oh, come on. I have to go with an open wrench. Should be good. That ain't going nowhere. I think this is a 10. I'm gonna crack this loose. Actually, an anti-seize this. I'll give a fuck what anybody says. Anti-seize your bleeders, baby. And that should help a lot. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, basically you pull the entire drum assembly off with the backing plate. If you're reusing your axles, it should be a little bit more easier. The bearings on the axle bearings that we were dealing with, they were destroyed. We had clunking, and it was just so much play that the axles were sliding in and out a little bit. So we went ahead and got new axles. You know, your backing plate spacer, then your axle with the gasket, and then the bracket for the caliper. Oh, I'm sorry. There you got your bracket, then you tighten all that down. You got a bracket for the caliper. You get those put in, run your hose under the axle, tie it in up here, and that's pretty much it. You bleed your brakes like normal, and then if you're going to, you're gonna have to change your proportioning valve. We already had disc in the front. This was drum, so you had a disc drum proportioning valve, and I gotta swap that to disc. So bleed like normal, and you're good. If you like the content and you want to see more of this stuff, I got quite a bit lined up for work for this hot rod stuff. So like, comment, subscribe. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments.